Welcome to Trading Lounge and the Asian report for the 20th of March, and with the ASX here on the daily chart we are looking for 5 waves to the downside here. Now this 5 waves to the downside here, once it's finished, we're having a little bit of difficulty in this little section here and we'll look at that in a moment, but having these 5 waves down here can certainly be the catalyst for the direction for further downside. So after 5 waves we normally get 3 waves and then we have another 5 waves down, so we need to be a bit mindful of that, but we'll work through this particular pattern when it arrives. Where we are now, we're looking from 4th down to 5th wave here. The market throughout the world is consolidating on large numbers like the S&P on the 2,500, and it's not showing a very clear pattern between 4th and 5th here. So let's go in and have a look. Even though we don't have a really clear pattern, one thing that we do have on our side is this large number here, so the 5,000 major trading level, 5 being the second strongest number. So if we get a really nice support on that, a nice tested support, then we can start working trades to the long side. But until that happens, we can't, and we still need to look at this as a bearish trend to the downside. So with this section from number 4 here to 5 here, there's different ways of counting this here. It's just too open, so I could even put wave 4 here with an A and a B and a C wave here. I could put wave 4 over here because we know wave 4s are complicated, as an A and a B and a C for the B wave, and up for the C wave here for that, and then down from that point. So I don't know the best way to to look at this. It's just not clear for me just yet, but I do know that if these lows here, and we'll be able to refine that further, if they're triggered, then we know that the 5,000 is being rejected, and then we'll be moving down lower from that point. We just need to wait for the evidence to roll in, really. And if it's going to find support on this level here, well, then it's a bit of a process for that. It needs to, pop up and come back and then move up again. It's not that quick. But really, this market is migrating from being support to being resistance, isn't it? So this would be a short trade setup here if these lows are going to be breached out here. We'll take a closer look at that. So what we spoke about yesterday, though, is that the 5,000 here, and then above that we've got group 1, which is 1, 2 and 3, which makes group 1, and group 2's down here. So normally, whatever level that we're working with, we normally look to these 2 smaller groups of levels to find resistance up here and support here, and if they are breached, then we go with the trend at that point and we try and use the Elliott Wave to help us through. So yeah, this is the problem area through here with all of this. It's possible to have a low in, but we want evidence. We want to see the market sitting on top of the 5,000, otherwise it's going to drop here. So at what point here can we go short is the question. So let's just go in and have a look at that. So this is just a 15-minute chart here. So from the low, if we use this as the low here, then we can look at this as a corrective move up here as an A wave. We could also look at this as the low here as well. It would still leave us with an A and a B and a C wave up to this point here. So whichever way I look at this, it can be counted corrective. If I take this low here, then or even this one here, then it can be positive at that point. But what we can do here is that this move up through here, this is at 61.8% mark, coming back into this level here, which is just below the 4,900 here. So what we could say is that if that area here became the retested resistance, then we can go down further from that. So that's where we would have our first trade on the short side, if that was going to be the case, and the second one at the 4,800, which is the first minor level, and it carries a lot of weight, so it could also find it will find some support there, but the fourth time, because you get triple tops and triple bottoms, and it's normally the fourth time that they go through. So just be mindful of those numbers. But here, if this, we'll just talk about the short side for a moment. So if this comes down through here and then comes back and finds that as resistance here, and you can see it clearly, you can put in a small position here. It still needs to get down under the 4.8 as well, and you can look to go short there as well. And the other number here, of course, is 650 and 72 here to make up group 2 in that area there. But once this number here becomes the retested resistance, then yeah, you know that you'll be going down further at that stage. But otherwise, in the meantime here, we can just quite simply get an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave here, and then move up from that point. And in moving up through here to go long, we need that first high above the level, and then then hopefully get the second one here and let it sort of build, and then you can move in. But you can go on these tops here. This would also be roughly 61.8% of this move here if I don't include the spike here. I'm not going to include that spike here, but if I just take it from here, we'll be close. Yeah, so we're on the 61.8. So that's good to know as well. So, if that area became the support, then you also know that you'd be leaving the station at that point in time as well. So yeah, look, it's still, as mentioned yesterday, we just need to work out where we are with this. So we know that in a nutshell here, we can short these new lows here. That's the main point. You can get closer to the market if you wish. Just you need to know what you're doing. That's all. Doesn't matter what you do, as long as you know what you're doing and you quantified your risk and so on and so on. But I think it's always good to build into things and steady as she goes. So that's about it really for that. I can still see things like A and Z have to move lower as well. We looked at iron ore yesterday as well. We'll just bring that back into the fold here as well. So what we were looking for here is that we wanted to see, for the sake of Rio, this is iron ore here daily, is that we find support on this medium level here, 650, and it hasn't sat up there yet. It's not, all's not lost yet, but we need to see it sit up there. So as I mentioned yesterday, we need to see a push to go up, and then we need to see it come back, and we need to see it sit on this support here. Once that occurs, then we know that we're in a position to look at the material sector, Rio, and so on and so on. And if these push up, well, then the banks can push down a little bit further as well. So let's have a look at China and Hong Kong. So with China here, we were looking at a bearish trend here, and when we spoke last time, we were expecting a bounce off the 11,500. That's played out quite nicely, and we're looking for this green wave 4 here that realistically could move back up to the wave 4 of 1 lesser degree. So that would bring us back up into this space here for that. So just be mindful of that there, and then we'd be looking for continuing to move down lower here. So if that's the case, then Hong Kong could be much the same as well. So with Hong Kong, and we looked at this yesterday, we looked from this wave 4 here, and we looked at 1 and 2 here, and 3 and 4 and 5 here as 5 waves. So it was possible to have a low in here. It was just that, putting this blue wave 5 here, but I didn't do it because it just looked a little bit short. I thought there'd be more to this. So we had that rally while we were talking yesterday, or close to it, I think, and then we've had this drop down here. So it's good now. It's still giving us a bearish signal to the downside as such. It's possible, just looking at different ways to count it. So one of the other points here too is that we're in group 1 here at the moment, so we've got 20,000, which is a major level, and then we've got 1, 2 and 3 here, which are minor levels at this degree of structure. So but it doesn't really matter. What I normally find when a market's moving down lower into a large number like this here, the market tends to bounce around in group 1 a lot. So 1, 2 and 3, and kind of what we're looking at here really is we're waiting to see if the number 2 here, 22,000 in this case, becomes the retested resistance in this instance. So that's what we're waiting on here. So what I've done is I brought a stop into this point here. You could possibly bring a stop down to here because this move down through here would be an A wave, a B wave and a C wave. It's probably finished in there. We'll go and have a bit of a look. Could be one more push up. This will be it here. So that's all the first leg. Second leg is that second leg, an A and a B and a C here. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here. So it's possible to have a top in play here. We just don't want to see that there. If that high is taken out, then we've got one more leg, because we'd have to look at this as 1 and 2 here, and then all of this is the third wave, a fourth wave, and then a fifth wave. So I've got the stop in the right place, considering everything. So that would, one more move up here, if that was going to be the case, then that would move up somewhere into here and then fold. It wouldn't go much further than that. So that stops in the right place. Yeah, so I'll just let you complete that dance there. And India. So with India, it's much the same as Australia and the S&P 500 as well here. And so we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and looking down for 5 here. I still think there's a little bit more to go in here, and I'll show you why. I mean, the 8,000 is great support, no doubt about that. What I was doing before, I was counting this as 1 and 2 in here, and then 3 and 4 here. But I think it's better when I look at this structure here. If I can just put this in its rightful place. When I look at this structure here, it's got this nice 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here. It's got better form here. This looks like a third wave to me, rather than the way I had it. So I'm going with 1 and 2 here and 3 here and 4 here, and looking for one more low to spike down through here before we see some sort of recovery moving back up into that area there. So on the 1 hour chart, it would look a little bit like this. We do have a short trade in here, and you can see that this has got nice form in this space here for a third wave. It's compared to this one here. So I'm going for the right look and perspective, as they say. And wave 4s, they could be complicated. So this wave 4 here, that could do a few things here. It may even move back up. This is already at a 38.2% retracement level, so it's not going to go far, but it could go back up into here before it drops down here again, or it can just drop straight through here. Either way, you'll see some sort of migration from across that main level there. In terms of shorting it, we could possibly come down to 72 down here, possibly, because when I look at wave 1 here and wave 3, well, if this is the extension in wave 3 here, that means that wave 1 here and wave 5 can be roughly the same length. But obviously this is going to depend on the rest of the world. When there's fear in the world, markets tend to look at each other, and their markets move emotionally. They're emotional, they're run by human beings. Anyway, we'll see how that occurs there. So what we can do though is we can move our stop down a little further here now, on top just above this one here. I mean, taking profit in this area here, or part profit, is fine as well. You want to leave yourself at least break even in the trade. You don't want it to turn into lose money on it, or see profit turn into loss. So taking a percentage in this area here gives you that break even or slightly winning trade, and leaving a small percentage in there. And if you're really keen on watching it. You could like add to the position once it migrates to being resistance here at the right time, if that's going to be the case. Alrighty, thanks for tuning in and enjoy the weekend. Cheers.